Good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever it is that you are on the other side. Thank you for joining us today. We have a special episode. Welcome to WTF Walk the Floors, all things hospitality training. I'm Michele Kline with Kline Hospitality, and I'm here with my co-hostess, Stephanie Ledger with First Rate Hospitality. Stephanie, how are you? And who's in the house?
Fabulous. Yes, another episode. We are so happy to having Sevket from Directful sponsor this episode and tell us more about his product and how it's going to help hoteliers across the world and the country on being able to be more useful. So welcome, Sevket. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much for hosting me over here.
All right, so let's get right into it. So if you could be able to tell our listeners a little bit more about your background and what is Directful?
Sure. Well, my name is Sevket. I have been in the online travel for over 2 decades. Built like 5 different online travel agencies in the past. The most successful one was like cheapair.com. I was a technology co-founder over there, and in like about 8 years, the day that I exit from there, we were doing like about around 20,000 airline tickets a day. That was over $10 million of daily transaction volume, and of course, millions and millions of visitors. And well, during that time, I learned several different things, of course, which are like understanding guests a little bit better, understanding the travelers, what they are shopping for, how they want to see those things, what information is missing from their eyes, what is motivating them, how they make their decisions, all the OTA related things that I've been able to book. And then seeing airlines really going into more and more direct. Like I remember the days where they stopped commissions and then they started to shut down OTAs all over the place. And I remember at some point Delta Airlines, I mean, I know it's not hospitality, but it's very important for hotels how the other part of the travel really made the change. Delta Airlines started to say, like, I'm going to have only 2 OTAs per continent. And they started shutting down. And then why this is not happening for the hotels, really? That was the question in my mind. And the other thing I've seen during my OTA expertise was like, airlines get all the data about the customers, their name, last name, email address, phone number, address, credit card, anything and everything you can name. And when it comes to hotels, we try to hide as much as possible, which I'm pretty sure everybody really knows. So I was thinking, why it is like that. But obviously, it's very simple. Like there are like about 700 airlines in the world, right? And they are all enterprise businesses. And hotels are like, if you look at it, 700,000 hotels in the world, and they're all small businesses. So they don't really have the necessary bandwidth and power to do all those things. The others have their own software development teams. Hotels needs to operate their properties, right? So it has been difficult. And I thought, like, we really need to make some kind of a change. We need to give this power back to the hotels that they can now stand on their feet much stronger than before. So that's what led me to, build Directful, to shift the power to the hotels and more direct, of course. That's the important part of the game. So as of Directful, what we do is we introduce a distribution channel, and that's something really new that didn't exist before. So we tap into an untapped channel, which is we utilize SMS. I know, pretty much SMS is known and by everyone from age 4 to 104. Everybody knows how to use it, right? How to interact with it. And we put AI on top of it, predicting guests' most likely time to come back. And then and we put another key ingredient, which is hyper-personalization. reminding them, the guests, to come back. And this resulted in, allowing hotels to rank up in, for example, in TripAdvisor by 7 steps, convert OTA guests into direct bookers, and it's a new conversational commerce that entered into hospitality, which guests are not being pushed for anything. They can do everything on their pleasure time, and your conversational commerce is covering your guest journey before, during, and after the trip, which in the end elevates the experience and satisfaction.
Wow, absolutely. I love it. I love especially the text messaging and personalization. I feel that we know a lot of our hoteliers, their inbox is inundated with guest requests, and then this is a way now to being able to utilize it for those guests that are looking to come back and achieve them for booking again.
Absolutely.
I love, Sevket, what you say about, you mentioned being a 5-time OTA builder, and I find it very interesting to see how you were able to connect both, right? To connect your past experiences and how can I make this better so that hotels can retrieve this information, have information, and reconnect with their past guests and create something extremely different that moves the needle in a very different way, right? And it caters to what the guest also is expecting from a communication standpoint. So I'm curious to find out, limited access to OTA guest data seems to be a very common issue across the board. So how does Directful overcome this challenge in depth?
Sure. Well, OTA's perspective is to make it more and more difficult. So they keep the customer with anything possible. And hotels are really busy. Think about it. They are extremely busy. I mean, one golden thing they can all do is when the guest arrives to collect this information. But then you need the necessary tools and technology in order to collect this information at ease, very simply. Um, and we have our secret sauce is built into this. We use our own proprietary AI to recover over 40% of guest data that is traditionally unusable to the hotel. And we have various different techniques to do it. And our AI really allows us to go and cover like 360 degrees of the guest's profile that we built from a lot of different fragmented data from all over the place. It's not easy, it's challenging, but we do this with the data that we are able to collect from the existing PMS information. And we also enhance it with some third-party data and with our own data that we built ourselves. And really, it's an uplift. Like if you have X amount of marketable data in your hand for the guests, now imagine that that's increased by 40%. And this is almost without any effort from the hotel itself, without
That's
lifting
incredible.
Wow.
Wow, that's incredible. So generally speaking, the hotels have, especially smaller resorts or those that have less rooms in general, there is a lower return rate from past guests than there are in obviously the larger hotels that have a more robust platform that can engage and keep that guest engaged. How does Directful address this specific challenge and help hotels re-engage with past guests and bring them back and get them excited?
Yeah, I mean, a very nice question. Actually, if you look at it, across the board, there is like about 70% of the guests never return back to the same property. How we bring these people back? How do we bring these valuable guests back? Because you earn the guest from an OTA. It could be a case, and it's very valuable actually, and you pay premium for this. But then you need to control your guests, and that's something that we are trying to give back to the hotels. How we do this thing is, first of all, We have the necessary know-how and expertise. We know what the guest really is looking for. And you just need to be on the right time to remind them their past experience. So, as I said in the beginning, we have
How do
our
you do that?
how do I do that? It is, I mean, if you want to get into a technicality, it's like there are hundreds and thousands of factors that play a role why you're going to come back to the same property. I'll give you one example. It's really hundreds, I mean, upper of 700, maybe 1,000 different factors actually play a role. But what we learned in our OTA time, what I learned is when the weather is not great, when it's cloudy, rainy, snowy, stormy, guests tend to make bookings a lot more than usual. So this is just one hit part of the secret sauce that we utilize the weather conditions that not many people will know to add to the mixture of the prediction model. But the prediction model is by itself is like you feed more and more data. It's about the data. The more data that you feed in, the more accurate it's going to be. And then once you reach the certain accuracy ratios, like upper levels of 85%, that is their likely time to make another booking again. And you mix it with a hyper personalization, reminding them their last stay. I'm thinking about it. You know when they stayed, you know which room they stayed in, you know how much they paid for this, and you know some additional information about that past stay. When you put these things together, and put generative AI on top of it, it is a very easy decision for the guests to come back. You're making it easy. You're reminding them, and this is an experience that they remember actually. They've been there before, and it's the right channel and the right time. Think about it. This results in guests to really go a very nice interaction. Sometimes, look, from some of the messages we have seen, there was one guest going to a specific destination, and we messaged him, and he messaged back like in an hour. I mean, he's saying, "Are you a psychic? I'm just going to the area. I was about to walk into another property. After getting the message, I walked into yours." So you just need to be on the right time and reminding them with hyper personalization, and the rest becomes easy. If you give them an easy way to make this conversation, an easy way to book, they actually do this. But like I said, there's hundreds of different factors behind the scenes. The data is the key.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Sevket, I have a question. What would you say, or how would you describe the ideal client for Directful?
Ideal client for us usually is today what we sell is we sell to hotel management companies. And
Can you talk to us a little bit about the size? What size property can benefit from this? Or locations perhaps, or is it destination areas, or
all sorts of them. But one of the first customers that we had was a very nice bed and breakfast property, 5 rooms. We turned them on within 3 to 4 hours, all rooms booked. There is nothing else to book. So that was, they wouldn't need us for a couple more months. So that's not really the
that's an issue.
Yeah, that's an issue. It's a good issue. For hotels that have above 50 rooms is getting interesting. The more the rooms, the better the performance that you're going to get. Okay. Most of our customers are generally between 120 to 300 rooms. But the more the room, the more the data, the more we produce for you. That's really how it works. But I'll tell you an experience of a hotel management company. And by the way, we are not going to say no to a management company when they have so many good hotels, and the couple hotels, good meaning higher number of rooms versus 40 room, 30 room properties. We accept them all. Not that we need to make money on it, but generally the experience of hotel management company with us is they get very excited in the beginning. They think that is going to change their life. But they want to be cautious. They give us like 1 or 2 properties to test it out. 1 month ends. In the end of the month, they look at the data. They say, "Whoa, I want all the rest of my properties on it."
And now they lost 30 days. If only we would have looked at the data earlier.
Yeah. But that's really the experience that we usually get from them. And it's very exciting for us. But I'll tell you one figure. I built 5 OTAs, right? In OTAs, as per golden rule, if you have 2% conversion ratio, you're kind of on the break even. You're not making money, you're not losing money. If you make 4% conversion ratio, you're doing good business. And in my experience, by the way, XP is over 4%, so no questions asked over there. In my experience, I have experienced 11% conversion ratios for given days, but that's not consistent. However, in Directful, we are very proud to say that across the board on all hotels, across all the time, our average conversion ratio since we started until today is over 16%. And that's really why our customers are loving us and coming back to us and giving us more and more properties so that we elevate, guest experience and fill up these rooms. And usually people ask why this is happening. There are 3 things: our know-how and expertise, the AI prediction, and the channel that we prefer, which is identified by the customer. I mean, there are a few things. Is the customer really, really preferring email, text message, WhatsApp, or a phone call? You identify customer with a 360-degree view and approach them from the right channel, which is the most welcoming for them.
And it's really fascinating. Yeah.
And before just getting on to the next question, I just also wanted to know, so here we have now the hotelier is saying, yes, this sounds amazing. How is it for them as the user? Is this someone now that they need to hire full time of being able to setting this up? Or is a lot of things like you had mentioned using the word AI and automation, that it's pretty much like, okay, here it's set up, we put in some parameters, and then it does its thing on its own?
Well, it is a wonderful question. I love the question, by the way. Most of our customers, when they start, we get like about 15-minute onboarding session, and then follow it by maybe 1 hour training the following day. Most of it is done by automation, by the system itself. So they don't need to assign anyone to run this program. They don't even need to lift their finger if they don't want to. System works by itself. Think about it. It's an OTA working only for you, and regenerate and regain customers back to yourself. But you don't pay commission on it. That's the great part. And you have a lot more flexibility what you want to do on that. Then our customers are getting more, smart in this. The more that they understand the power, we give them really, really robust drip campaign capabilities. We call it text blast generally, but they are able to personalize to the toughest extent. They can pick up, hey, look, I want the golfers. Really, I want to target these golfers because this is their characteristics. Or I want to book only the ones who are I only want the ones who are coming back, X many times, or they come back during this time only, such as Thanksgiving time. They would like to focus on a Thanksgiving time, or a specific, IndyCar racing time. So they can bring these people back, very, very initially focus on them, or they focus on specific companies, or they know that they have a low season coming up. They know how to motivate their guests, and they do certain drip campaigns to reach out to them, and then That's an additional effort that they do, but it returns with very high yield. I mean, I was looking at one customer yesterday. They reached out to 20,000 of their past guests out of 60,000. That generated $120,000 in one campaign in less than a month period.
Wow.
But usually they don't need to lift their finger. But if they go really customized, they can increase high yield of ADR and faster uh, revenue generation.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, it's very powerful too, of just all the automation that's happening, saying, okay, yes, we have Thanksgiving, maybe we're up in the Northeast and ending our golf season, and being able to target directly of our past guests that have usually came during that time, or were avid golfers during the summertime, and now we want to give them this one last hurrah and target to them to coming back.
Yep. But also think about one other thing. Guests have no reason to come back to this destination, and no reason if they come back to choose that property, because guests tend to choose different properties. But if you remind them in a very nice manner, and if you give them something especially, that becomes a no-brainer.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. So moving along. So here, this is how Directful is currently, but what's the future look like in changing the landscape with getting that information, getting those return guests, and beating the system of where we currently are with the OTAs?
Today, we are partnering more and more with our tech partners in hotels and hospitality. Some of them are traditionally cost centers, and with our partnerships, we are actually turning them in profit centers, which becomes a win-win-win for everyone. But really, the future is going to be more of AI, and AI. I can tell you that the more we are investing more and more on our AI, and this is going to come with more higher levels of personalization, without lifting your finger once again. And it is coming with guest preferences. Guest preferences are so crucial. OTAs started to use them in better way right now, especially with generative AI. They are using it better. Now it's time for hotels to use it as well. Personalization is extremely important. You need to be custom tailor your message across to the guest based on their preferences. Some people like, for example, hardwood floors, and if you have hardwood floor hotel, which is rare, but when it happens, you are going to win this customer back. Some people prefer high floors. Some people have specific business needs in that destination, specific conferences. And of course, we're going to bundle it with the generative AI like everybody else is using. And that is going to yield in much more revenue generation, better customer satisfaction, more loyalty to you. And especially this is also helping for branded hotels to get more memberships at the same time. You just really type based on the preferences of the guest, but improve the AI. I mean, today we predict their most likely time to come back, and we are starting to predict their most likely destination to go.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Wow. I bet now also too with that you can see even on different trends, of where more people are booking. Like this summer it was all about Europe. It seemed they were the winners this summer, and I bet now you'll be able to predict more of the fall of where that target market is going to be.
Right.
All right. Well, ending off with our segment, we always have our WTF moment. And so give us a little bit more about your WTF moment, whether it be with OTA or traveling.
I mean, it is right in the heart of why we built this business, really.
Oh, I love that. Tell us about it.
I told you I built 5 OTAs, and in one of the last ones, the last one that I was working on, I was the CTO, and I was in San Francisco. We were on Pier 5, It was an awesome location. So think about 20 years, of experience in the industry. I have a lot of vendors, customers from the field who became actually friends. And one day, one of my friends, apparently in San Francisco itself, called me up. He was worried about his job. He told me, he basically called me like this. He said, Sevket, you're the man, you're the brain, you make all the tech. I really need your help because his hotel was probably going to go out of business in 6 months, so he's going to lose his job. I said, okay, I'm willing to help. So it was like about 20 minutes walk. I walked to their property, and I was always working in OTAs before, so I never seen PMS in my life. So
Mm.
he introduced me to the PMS, CRS. I spent like about 4.5 hours over there analyzing everything. And then I turned to my friend and I told him, look, we make between 15 to 30% commission in every booking, depending on the hotel, of course. How much you're earning? He sadly said, depending on the season, we earn between 3 to 5%. I said, oh, we make
Oof.
5, 6 times than you. He said, yes, apparently that's true. I told him, you know what? How you're marketing today? He said, before GDPR, we used to do email marketing, but after GDPR, our vendors delete the database. I said, what? They delete the database? Unbelievable. Um, I told him, look, forget about it. Doesn't really matter. Let's do something really unconventional, something that's not even tried before. Let's reach out to your past guests, invite them back by text message. This is what we are doing today, of course. Um, and he said he was not really confident about it, but he said, we can try, nothing to lose. I told him it's going to be free. Don't worry about it. I set it up the system. I actually write a program myself. It was complete black screen, no UI whatsoever. You just need to hit the enter. We scooped like about a couple thousand of their past guests, and we put our heads together, build the content to invite them back, and I hit the button. It took like a couple hours to send the messages, and 2 weeks later, he gave me a call. He said, Serket, I think it's working. I can already attribute like 10 to 15,000 bucks of, bookings to this because I see the uplift. I have no tracking by that time, you can imagine. And then in the end of the month, he said, can we do it again? I said, I go there, run the program again with another set of couple thousand people, and we ran it again. And by the end of the second month, before he asked, I already decided that's what we are doing. That is the company that we are building. This is a really big opportunity. This is going to give power back to the properties to stand on their feet. It doesn't mean that you're going to cut OTA off, but you are, for the very first time as a hotel, you start to control your guests yourself in an autonomous way. So that's our moment.
It's the story of the behind the scenes tech world of walking the floor.
Yes.
How do we solve this big problem? Well, you solve it by getting involved and really understanding and finding the right solution. How fantastic is this?
Yeah.
Sevket, this was enlightening. Not only it's fascinating what you are sharing with us, but also I think that it's a great solution for many resorts out there and hotels that are really losing a lot of money by continuing to do things the traditional way as they book through OTAs and in many cases OTAs alone. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you for enlightening us. Thank you for being here. How can our listeners and our viewers, how can they get a hold of you or
Um,
your company?
yeah, it's simple. I mean, we stand with the mindset of direct. So our company name is directful.com. You can go to directful.com, schedule a demo, or contact us from there. It will be super easy, and we'll definitely get in touch with you as soon as possible.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for sharing. And yes, like Michele said, I think this is wonderful for the hoteliers that are doing marketing, very traditional, where most of those emails are just going into the spam anyways. And, more people, yes, are on their phones. So this is
Correct.
great.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
you.